We'll call the Carlisle Village Council meeting to order. Would everyone please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Bicknell?
Here.
Mr. Jewett?
Here.
Mr. Licklider?
Here.
Mr. McIntosh?
Here.
Mr. McEldowney?
Here.
Ms. Tankersley?
Here.
Mayor Winkler?
Here. Before you are the minutes of our regular meeting. Before we proceed with those, do we have a motion to suspend the reading of the minutes
So moved.
by the clerk?
So moved.
Mr. Bicknell?
Second.
Ms. Tankersley? Roll call.
Mr. Bicknell?
Yes.
Mr. Licklider?
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. McEldowney?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. Before you are the minutes of our regular meeting of November the 28th. Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. McIntosh, roll call.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mr. McEldowney?
Yes.
Mr. Licklider?
Yes.
Mr. Bicknell?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. Regular minutes of November 28th have been adopted. Also, we had a special meeting last night. Before you, there are those minutes, but we'll need a motion to suspend the reading of those minutes by the clerk as well.
So moved.
Mr. McEldowney,
Second.
Mr. Bicknell, roll call.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley?
Abstain.
Mr. McEldowney?
Yes.
Mr. Bicknell?
Yes.
Mr. Licklider?
Abstain.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. So before you are the minutes of the special meeting of December the 11th. Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley? Mr. Bicknell?
Yes.
Mr. Licklider?
Abstain.
Mr. McEldowney?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. Special meetings have, we just adopted them. Okay. So many here, I get confused sometimes. So the special meeting minutes of December 11th have been adopted. Public forum. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak with council this evening? Please state your name and address and come to the podium, please.
Tom Volpe, 315 Ethel Robb Circle. A couple of things, but it's related to the parking discussion. One of the things I asked Mr. Mayor was, what was the rationale for some of the previous, decisions? And you said you didn't know some of the folks weren't here anymore. There's a project management practice. It's just called a decision log. And you write down what you did, why you did it, you itemize it or index them, and then keep them for posterity. And it's really easy to do. And if the city has an interest in it, I could meet with the city manager and show her some of the best practices. Because when we're done with this parking thing, somebody in 2 years may say, why did you do something? And you'd be able to say, this is why. So that's one thing I'd volunteer. The other thing is business principles around the parking issue. I wrote down 3. One is that Carlisle is primarily a residential community, and we ought to strive to preserve that and to maximize our property values. Number 3, though, is something I didn't talk about last time, and that is that we've got people here that have made an investment in parking pads. Some have moved trees and fences and everything else. And however the new thing is written, I think you ought to write down that people who have made an investment under the old code get to keep it. So in simple English, because I don't understand how to write codes, I'd say that if you got a parking pad and you're using it, you can keep it. You wouldn't have to not use it anymore. You know what I mean? So kind of grandfather. And you used a different phrase last time, and I can't remember what it was.
Pre-existing non-conforming.
Okay. That sounds complicated. But, no, if you got a parking pad and you're using it now, you ought to be able to use it going forward. But also, my recommendation would be that you do allow driveways, and as one of the gentlemen said last time, driveways can go up pretty much to the property line, and I'm sure there's some setback, but if you would pass that around. That's an example of Ethelrob, and it shows, oops, here, I got another one. A couple of houses, actually 3 houses, where parking pads, like Don and Fay, could be on the side of the garage. So you could park your RV there and keep it for whatever the code's gonna say, rather than putting it in the backyards. As I said before, I'm not a fan of backyard parking. I just don't think it's a residential kind of look. But we've got people who have large investments. The other thing I did is I Googled how much it costs to put in a parking pad. It's a lot of money. So to recap, if you've got a parking pad, you ought to be able to use it going forward. My recommendation is new parking for RVs would be on the side of the garage, which is allowed now. And I gave a bunch of Google Earth prints to Mrs. Duffy that show some of the stuff that's here now. And I also think that idea of the Monroe Code, the Monroe statute where you can keep it, that makes a lot of sense. I talked to my neighbors, Tim and Jenny Childers, and they had a fifth wheel for a couple of them for a long time. And it takes them days to get ready, and then a day or two to unload it and whatnot. So having it available, if it's parked legally, would be a smart thing. Okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Roger Britton, 280 Welcome Way. Just wanted to kind of counteract a couple things he said. I'll keep mine in the backyard, and one of the reasons I do, I've got a 6-foot privacy fence back there, and it, you know, it's only the top part of the thing is visible, so less obtrusive to neighbors. Some of them like him that don't like it or whatever, but I think, and plus it's more secure. I've got it gated. I got a lock gate on that side. I only have one way they can get in that's not locked, so it's more secure for me, and I feel much more secure having it back there. I got lights and everything. I can check on it where it's at now. So I ask you to keep that in consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I think you ought to be able to keep it there.
Yeah, you got motion to take the lights.
Public forum is still open. If anyone else would like to address council. Seeing none, we'll close the public forum. We'll move on to council reports. Mrs. Tankersley, would you like to start this evening?
I don't think I have anything tonight, thank you.
Okay. Mr. McEldowney?
I know we have 2 meetings tonight, but I want to take this opportunity now to thank Mr. Licklider for all of your service. As we all know up here, you've served your country with honor and have served the village of Carlisle with honor as well. So thank you. We'll miss you. Good luck in your future. And then also thank the residents that took the time to apply and come to the special meeting last night for the council interviews. And that is all for this evening.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McIntosh?
I also would like to thank everyone who applied for the vacant council seat. We got more interest this time around than we have in the past, so I appreciate more people getting involved and wanting to step up. Excuse me. I would encourage everyone to check out the boards and commissions we have open seats for currently within the village, especially park board. I do this every other week. My plea for park board, I have a lot of ideas I would like to see come to life in the parks this coming year that didn't happen this year due to lack of a park board. So anyone interested, please reach out to Mrs. Harover and we'll get you signed up. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Licklider?
First of all, I'd like to say that it's really nice to have people in the audience, especially when we say the Pledge of Allegiance. You know, when we're up here saying the pledge and there's nobody out there, we just, you know, we just hear ourselves. But it's good to hear the pledge with a bunch of people here. So I appreciate your attendance for that. Second, I want to congratulate the service department for putting up the Purple Heart signs. I've seen, I'm sure, all of them,
So, and they look good. They really do. And the last thing, I want to congratulate all of those that were winners of the fire department lottery for the gun giveaway in November. I was not one of those winners, but I just want to congratulate everybody that was. That's all I got.
Thank you. Mr. Jewett.
I want to thank Mr. Licklider for his time, even though he's begrudgingly leaving us and then upset that he did not win one of the guns, but I think he'll get over it. I do want to say that I feel that I've learned a lot from James in my time serving with him, and he will be missed, and hopefully the rest of us will pick up where he left off.
Thanks.
As we head into this cold season, I would ask that the residents look out for your elderly neighbors. This time of year is hard on them, you know, whether it's a newspaper laying out on the ground or the mail not being taken in or a sidewalk. I just ask that your residents keep an eye out for your elderly neighbors. You know who they are, and let's just try to take care of our own. Once again, I want to thank the residents. Not only is it nice to hear you guys when we're saying the Pledge of Allegiance, it's nice to hear your opinions on different matters. We are a part of you, and it helps when you are here voicing your opinions and helping us to serve the village of Carlisle. Other than that, Merry Christmas to everyone. That's all I have.
Mr. Bicknell.
Also like to say congratulations to Mr. Glider for his quota retirement from the council. 10 years is a long time to do a public service, especially in a position like this. I'm sure there were some dark times as well as things have gotten better over the years, and it's easy to dip out when it's tough and not want to do it again, but you continue to stay in and knowing that there was going to be light at the end of the tunnel, and I think we've gotten a lot closer to that light with you here. So we thank you for that. Thanks to everyone who came out and participated, and for the open vacant seat. Thanks for the public for coming in. Our job that we do here is to try to make the best we can for the citizens, and sometimes we need the citizens here to kind of give us feedback on, you know, good, bad, indifferent, so that, you know, we know that at least what we're doing is being noticed, whether it's in always a good or a bad light. And then this, I know we have 2 meetings tonight, but this will be our last together, so wish council and citizens a Merry Christmas safely and a Happy New Year. That's all.
Okay, thank you. We'll close council report. We'll move on to mayor's report. Just to echo some of the things that's already been said, but James, it's been a pleasure working with you. I know where you live, so if I need some advice, I might just be stopping by. But I wish you the best in your, I know you're talking about retirement as well and doing some traveling, so be safe and don't be a stranger. Come back and see us.
Okay, I will.
Just another thing too, you know, with the winter weather coming on and we're getting our first taste of snow, the roads are starting to get slick. There's black ice out there. So going to work this morning, I seen some people driving like the roads were dry, and I saw a couple in the ditch. But you know, be conscious out there of the black ice and the road conditions, because they can sneak up on you quickly. Other than that, Merry Christmas to everyone, and thank you for coming. And again, thank all the people who applied for the vacancy. So we'll close the mayor's report and move on to the manager's report.
Thank you. I do have a couple things tonight. The fire department gun raffle was a success. Chief Holbrook said that the response was quite great. I believe they sold a total of 426 tickets. After all the expenses with the purchase of the guns and some printing expenses, the department netted over $2,400. According to Chief Holbrook, that has been one of their most successful fundraisers in recent years. They plan on using that money right away in the new year to buy some gas monitors for the department. So he said, as of now, they definitely are planning to hold it again next year. They may change the month in which they hold it, so everyone stay tuned to the fire department's Facebook page and the village websites for updates on when they'll do that again. With the holiday season, we do use Rumpke for our trash service. Rumpke observes very few holidays, and Christmas Day and New Year's Day are two of the ones they observe. In fact, I believe they are the only two that they observe. So with that, the week of Christmas and the week of New Year's, so back-to-back weeks, trash service in Carlisle will be on Wednesday, not Tuesday. So you will have to have your holiday trash a little bit longer. Christmas Day is on Monday, and they'll pick up on Wednesday. New Year's Day is on Monday, and they'll pick up on Wednesday the following week. After that, they'll be back on their normal Tuesday route service. So keep that in mind. And Town Hall will be closed in observance of the upcoming holidays. Will be closed on the 25th and 26th of December, as well as Monday the 1st. Police Department, of course, is up 24/7, so if you do need services from them, they will be accessible. One last thing, I've been talking for the last few weeks about the upcoming railroad closings. They are still planning on working on the railroad crossings at CSX, at Union, Fairview, Beekler, and then a little bit in the township at Marks Pollen. The last word was they probably will not be doing it until after Christmas. Hopefully it will be right after Christmas because the schools are out of session for a few days that week and into the following week. So that would, be the best of a inconvenient situation. But we will, once we know a firm date, we will definitely try to get the word out through our website, through our Facebook page. So keep looking for an update. As soon as we get a firm date, we'll let everybody know. And I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We'll close the manager's report. We have no committee reports this evening or old business, but under new business, we do have one item. We have had a citizen resign from the Planning Commission, or Board of Zoning Appeals, I'm sorry, Mr. Don Dawson, and we need a motion to accept his resignation.
So moved.
Mr. Licklider, do we have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Tankersley, roll call.
Mr. Bignell?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mr. McEldowney?
Yes.
Mr. Licklider?
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. Mr. Dawson's resignation has been accepted. We'll move on to first readings of ordinance and resolutions. Under letter A, Resolution 1817, authorizing contract for improvements to Franklin Wastewater Treatment Plant, and that is on for an emergency.
This is on for an emergency tonight. The Franklin Regional Wastewater Board, that is who operates the sewer facility that Carlisle, Franklin, Germantown, and a portion of Warren County process the sewer through, and we're all joint members of the board. They are in the process of doing some major upgrades to the sewer plant to conform with new EPA standards. They have asked that each community, including Carlisle, pass a resolution that would allow the board to negotiate the contract, select a contractor, and administer the contract on behalf of Carlisle. So the reason why it's on for an emergency is they're hoping to keep on their production schedule and have a first meeting of the selection panel in January. So we do not have enough time for the full 3 readings and 30-day cycle.
Okay. May I have a motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings, have 1 reading by title only, and declaring an emergency?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Licklider?
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Bignell?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mr. McEldowney?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes.
A resolution authorizing the advisory board of the Franklin Regional Wastewater Treatment Corporation or its designees to select a contractor, negotiate the contract, and administer the contract for the improvements to the Franklin area wastewater treatment plant and declaring an emergency.
Any discussion?
Out of curiosity, how far back was it when they notified you that they wanted to do this?
I got the email right here. Let's see. It was This email was November 13th, and I honestly forgot about it in my email box.
Okay.
So we could have had a first reading on November 22nd.
We still would not have had
Still
time for
wouldn't
full
have-
3 readings.
No, we
Right.
would not,
So,
but I could have gotten to it earlier, I apologize.
no problem.
Any other discussion? We have a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. McElDowney?
Yes.
Mr. Licklider?
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Bignell?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. Resolution 1817 has been adopted. Ordinance 2217.
I didn't print out a copy, so I'm reaching over.
Oh, okay.
Like a ninja, you don't know I'm here.
Reappropriation supplemental appropriations for current expenses, Amendment 2, and that is also on for an emergency.
Presented for you tonight is on behalf of our finance director, who is studying for his finals, so he could not be here. When he was closing out the November financial books, he realized that in his end of the year appropriation, he did not ask for enough in the TIF funds, specifically the Eagle Ridge TIF and the Timber Ridge TIF. We received more money from those TIFs, which meant that we had to give more money back to the schools. So the appropriation for you tonight is to help clean up the books. We're asking for an additional $3,200 in the Eagle Ridge TIF fund, an additional $1,300 in the Timber Ridge TIFs. Revenues have more than offset this additional appropriation for you tonight. This will be the final cleanup of the 2017 budget, as we have no more meetings.
Okay. May I have a motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings, have 1 reading by title only, and declaring an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Bignell?
Yes.
Mr. Licklider?
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. McElDowney?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes.
An ordinance to make reappropriations, supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures for the municipality of Carlisle during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017, Amendment Number 2, and declaring an emergency.
Discussion? Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. McElDowney?
Yes.
Mr. Licklider?
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Bignell?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. Ordinance 2217 has been adopted. Under second and third readings of ordinance and resolutions, ordinance 2017, transfer of $50,000 from the general fund to the Carlisle Business Park Fund. That is on for a third reading and an emergency, and the emergency is to waive the 30 days.
This legislation, as well as the next one, are to transfer. The transfer amounts were included in the 2017 budget. The first one, the transfer from the general fund to the Carlisle Business Park Fund as an annual transfer that we do to buy down the debt that we currently have in the business park. And the Eagle Ridge TIF transfer, that is how we buy down the debt for road improvements to State Route 123 phases 4 through 7. The Eagle Ridge TIF does support that debt buy down. We did have these 2 pieces of legislation. This is the third reading. We did have 2 previous readings on them. We just do have not have enough time to wait for the 30-day enactment period to make them a full force in effect. It is needed to make these in full force in effect before we close the fiscal year 2017.
These are both the original.
These are both the
appropriated
original
amounts.
appropriate amounts that was included in the original 2017 budget.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings, have 1 reading by title only, and declaring an emergency?
So moved.
McIntosh.
Second.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mr. McElDowney?
Yes.
Mr. Licklider?
Yes.
Mr. Bignell?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. Any further discussion? Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Bignell?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mr. McElDowney?
Yes.
Mr. Licklider?
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. Ordinance 2017 has been adopted. Ordinance 2117, transfer of $85,000 from the Eagle Ridge TIF Fund to the State Route 123 funds. That is on for a third reading and emergency. So may I have a motion to suspend the rule requiring 3 readings, have 1 reading by title only, and declaring an emergency?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Bicknell?
Yes.
Mr. Licklider?
Yes.
Mr. McElDowney?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. Any discussion? Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. McElDowney?
Yes.
Mr. Licklider?
Yes.
Mr. Bicknell?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. Ordinance 2117 has been adopted. That's all we have on our agenda for the first reading. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Licklider?
Yes.
Ms. Tankersley?
Yes.
Mr. McIntosh?
Yes.
Mr. Bicknell?
Yes.
Mr. McElDowney?
Yes.
Mr. Jewett?
Yes.
Mayor Winkler?
Yes. We are adjourned.